My best friend announced her pregnancy at a dinner party 6 months ago. The moment she said the words, my husband's face went pale, and I knew something was terribly wrong. Later that night, he confessed. The baby was his. They'd had a drunken one-night stand during a rough patch in our marriage. Now I'm divorced, watching my ex-husband and former best friend build the family I'd been desperately trying to create for 4 years. Our entire friend group sided with them because the baby is innocent. I lost everything. I'm 31 years old, and my life fell apart at a dinner party on a Saturday evening in April. My husband Marcus and I had been married for 6 years, together for 8 total. We'd been trying to have a baby for the past 4 years with no success. Months of negative pregnancy tests, fertility appointments, tracking ovulation, timed intercourse that felt more clinical than intimate. The stress of infertility had been wearing on both of us, creating tension in what had been a solid marriage. My best friend Jade had been my closest friend since college, almost 10 years of friendship. She'd been there through everything: my relationship with Marcus, our wedding, the struggles with infertility. She'd held me while I cried after yet another negative test. She'd come with me to doctor's appointments when Marcus couldn't get off work. She'd been the person I called when I needed to talk through my fears that maybe I'd never be a mother. Jade was single, had been for most of the time I'd known her. She'd dated occasionally, but nothing serious. She was focused on her career in graphic design, living in a studio apartment downtown, independent and content. She and Marcus got along well, the three of us often hanging out together. They'd bonded over their shared love of terrible action movies and craft beer. I'd been happy they were friends. It made my life easier having my husband and best friend actually like each other. The dinner party was at our friends Trevor and Nicole's house. About 12 of us from our core friend group, people we'd known for years. Jade had been acting strange all evening, fidgety and nervous. Halfway through dinner, she stood up and tapped her glass to get everyone's attention. "I have an announcement," she said, her voice shaking slightly. "I'm pregnant. 14 weeks. I'm going to be a mom." The table erupted in congratulations and excited questions. Everyone was happy for her, shocked since she wasn't in a relationship, but happy. I felt frozen. 4 years of trying, of failing, of watching everyone around me get pregnant while I remained empty. And now Jade, my best friend, who'd witnessed all my pain, was pregnant. I tried to smile, tried to be supportive, but inside I was screaming with jealousy and grief. Then I looked at Marcus. His face had gone completely white. He was staring at Jade with an expression I couldn't read. Shock? Fear? Horror? Jade met his eyes for just a second before looking away quickly. Something passed between them in that moment, something I didn't understand, but knew was significant. I got through the rest of the evening on autopilot. Hugged Jade and congratulated her, asked the appropriate questions about due dates and how she was feeling, all while watching Marcus, who'd become silent and withdrawn, barely speaking for the rest of the night. We drove home in silence. I kept replaying that look between Marcus and Jade, trying to make sense of it. When we got home, I turned to Marcus and asked directly, "What was that at dinner? Why did you look like that when Jade announced her pregnancy?" Marcus stood in our kitchen, his hands gripping the counter, and I watched him crumble. "We need to talk. Something happened, something I should have told you months ago." My heart started pounding. I knew what he was going to say before he said it. Somehow, I knew. "6 months ago," Marcus began, his voice barely above a whisper. "That weekend you went to visit your parents. Jade and I was supposed to hang out, watch movies like we sometimes do. We'd been drinking. We were both feeling depressed about different things. It happened. One time, one horrible, stupid mistake. I felt like the floor had disappeared beneath me. You slept with Jade? I'm so sorry. We were drunk. It didn't mean anything. We both regretted it immediately. We agreed never to speak of it again, that it was a terrible mistake that would hurt you for no reason, since it would never happen again." "When?" I asked. "Exactly when?" "February. That weekend you were gone for your dad's birthday." February. 6 months ago. The rough patch he'd referenced. We'd been fighting a lot about the fertility treatments, about whether to keep trying or accept that maybe we weren't meant to be parents. I'd been pulling away emotionally, exhausted by the constant disappointment. And instead of talking to me about it, he'd slept with my best friend. "The baby," I said slowly. "Is it yours?" Marcus's silence was answer enough. Then, yes. Jade told me 2 months ago she had taken a test, confirmed the timing. She begged me not to tell you until she decided what she wanted to do. I've been living with this for 2 months, not knowing whether she'd keep it, not knowing how to tell you. She decided to keep it. I said, "Obviously." She told me yesterday she was going to announce it. I tried to get her to tell you privately first, to let me tell you before making it public. She said it would be easier this way, that announcing it to everyone at once would be less awkward than sitting you down separately. Less awkward. My husband and best friend had betrayed me in the worst possible way, created the baby I'd been desperately trying to create for 4 years, and Jade thought announcing it at a party would be less awkward than having an honest conversation? I couldn't speak, couldn't process. 6 months of lies. 2 months of Marcus knowing Jade was pregnant with his child while watching me take pregnancy tests that came back negative every month. 2 months of Jade texting me about weekend plans and work gossip while carrying my husband's baby. 2 months of both of them pretending everything was normal while knowing they'd destroyed everything. "Say something," Marcus begged. "Please. I know I've ruined everything. I know there's no excuse, but it was one time, one mistake, and I love you. I want to save our marriage." "Save our marriage?" I laughed, a hollow sound. "Marcus, you had sex with my best friend. She's pregnant with your baby. What marriage is there to save?" I made a mistake, a huge, unforgivable mistake, but it didn't mean anything. She didn't mean anything. It was just a moment of weakness when everything felt so hard. "And you couldn't talk to me? Couldn't tell me you were struggling? You had to sleep with Jade?" I wasn't thinking. I was drunk and sad, and she was there, and it just happened. I've regretted it every day since. I wanted to tell you, but I couldn't find the words. And then when Jade told me she was pregnant, I was terrified. I didn't know what to do. "So you did nothing. You let me keep trying to get pregnant month after month while knowing my best friend was carrying your baby. You let me cry to both of you about my infertility while you shared this secret. How could you? How could both of you?" Marcus was crying now. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I know that's not enough, but I don't know what else to say." I went to bed in the guest room that night. Couldn't bear to be near Marcus. Lay awake replaying every interaction with Jade over the past 6 months, looking for signs I'd missed. Had she seemed guilty? Had there been moments of awkwardness? I couldn't remember any. She'd been normal, supportive, my best friend, or so I'd thought. The next morning, I called Jade. She answered on the second ring, her voice cautious. "Hey, I figured you'd call." "Marcus told me," I said, "everything." Long silence. Then, "I'm sorry. I never meant to hurt you. It just happened." "It just happened? That's your excuse? You just accidentally had sex with my husband?" "We were both drunk and sad. He was upset about the fertility stuff and feeling like he was failing you. I was lonely and going through my own stuff. We weren't thinking clearly." "So this is somehow my fault because I was struggling with infertility?" "No, that's not what I meant. I'm trying to explain how it happened. It wasn't planned. It wasn't an affair. It was one night of terrible judgment. And you didn't tell me because it would hurt you for no reason. We both agreed it was a mistake that would never happen again. Why destroy your marriage and our friendship over one drunken mistake?" "You destroyed them anyway. You're pregnant with his baby. How exactly did you think this would play out?" Jade was quiet. Then, "I'm sorry. I didn't know I was pregnant until 6 weeks ago. When I found out, I didn't know what to do. I thought about not keeping it. I thought about keeping it and not telling anyone who the father was. I went back and forth for weeks. And you decided to keep it and tell everyone at a party without warning me first. I didn't know how to tell you privately. What was I supposed to say? How do you tell your best friend you're pregnant with her husband's baby? There's no good way. So you chose the worst way. You ambushed me in front of all our friends? I thought if I announced it publicly, with everyone there, it might be easier, less intense than sitting you down alone. I realize now that was stupid. Do you even understand what you've done to me? I've been trying to get pregnant for 4 years. 4 years of negative tests and disappointment. And now you're having the baby I've been praying for? With my husband? Do you have any idea how that feels? I know this is awful for you. You don't know. You can't possibly know. You're getting everything I wanted. You're having Marcus's baby. The baby I've been trying to give him for years. I didn't plan this. I didn't want to get pregnant. This isn't some scheme to steal your husband or your life. Then why are you keeping it? If you didn't want this, if you understand how much it hurts me, why not keep it? Because it's my baby. I can't explain it, but the moment I saw that positive test, something changed. I want this child. I'm going to be a mother. I never thought I wanted that, but now that it's real, I do. And Marcus? Where does he fit in? That's up to him. I told him I'm keeping the baby regardless of his involvement. If he wants to be a father, I won't stop him. If he doesn't, I'll do this alone. You're giving him a choice. How generous. Let me guess, he wants to be involved. He said he needs to do the right thing, that he created this life and has a responsibility to it. The right thing. The right thing would have been not sleeping with you in the first place. I know. We both know. But we can't change what happened. We can only deal with what's in front of us now. And what about me? What am I supposed to do? I don't know. I wish I had an answer. I wish this wasn't happening, but it is. And I have to make the best of it. I hung up on her. Couldn't listen to her justifications anymore. Couldn't hear her talk about her baby, Marcus's baby, the baby that should have been mine. I told Marcus I wanted a divorce. He begged me to reconsider, said we could work through this, that he'd do anything to save our marriage. I asked him if that meant refusing involvement with the baby. He couldn't answer, because of course he couldn't. He created a child and wanted to be a father to it. I couldn't ask him to abandon his baby, but I also couldn't stay married to him while he co-parented with Jade. This is what you wanted, I said to Marcus. All those years of trying, all those failed treatments, you wanted to be a father. Now you are, just not with me. That's not fair. I didn't want it this way. But this is the way it is. You and Jade are having a baby. I'm the only one who ends up with nothing. You don't have to end up with nothing. We can still try. We can still have our own baby. Are you insane? You think I want to have a baby with you now? You think I want to be connected to you for life after what you've done? I love you. This doesn't change that. It changes everything. You had sex with my best friend. She's having your baby. How does that not change everything? We separated immediately. Marcus moved into an apartment near our house. I stayed in the house we'd bought together, surrounded by reminders of the life we'd been building. The nursery we'd optimistically set up 2 years ago, now gathering dust. The baby books on the shelf. The tiny shoes I'd bought on sale, sure that someday I'd need them. Our friend group didn't know how to handle the situation. Trevor and Nicole, whose party had been the scene of the announcement, tried to stay neutral, but I could tell they were uncomfortable. Other friends seemed to side with Marcus and Jade. arguing that mistakes happen, that we all need to move forward, that the baby was innocent and deserved love from everyone. The baby. Always the baby. That was the trump card that made me the villain. Because how could I be angry when there was an innocent child involved? How could I not be supportive of my friend's pregnancy just because of the circumstances? Why was I being so selfish and making everything about me when there was a baby to think about? Nobody seemed to understand that I wasn't angry at the baby. I was angry at the betrayal. I was angry that my husband and best friend had destroyed my life, and somehow I was expected to be gracious about it because there was a pregnancy involved. I stopped hearing from most of our friends. Turns out when you refuse to celebrate your ex-husband impregnating your ex-best friend, people find you difficult. They'd rather not deal with the awkwardness of my grief when it's easier to just include Marcus and Jade and pretend I don't exist. The divorce was finalized 4 months after that dinner party. Marcus got the settlement he wanted, agreeing to sell the house and split assets evenly. He was cooperative and fair, probably feeling guilty, or maybe just wanting to move on to his new life, his new family. Jade had the baby in October, a girl. They named her Ivy. I saw the birth announcement on social media before I'd fully blocked everyone. Photos of tiny Ivy, of Marcus holding her with tears streaming down his face, of Jade exhausted but glowing. My entire former friend group posted congratulations. Nicole threw Jade a welcome baby party. Trevor posted photos from the hospital where apparently several friends had visited. They'd all moved on, created a new normal, where Marcus and Jade were co-parents, where their daughter was celebrated, where I was the bitter ex-wife who couldn't be happy for them. I tried to move on too, started therapy to process the compounded trauma of infertility and betrayal. My therapist helped me see that I was grieving multiple losses simultaneously: my marriage, my best friend, my friend group, and the baby I'd never had. Any one of those would be devastating. Altogether, they were destroying me. The worst part was the updates I couldn't avoid. Mutual acquaintances mentioning how great Marcus was doing as a dad. A coworker who knew Jade commenting on how happy she looked in her Instagram photos. My own mother trying to be supportive but mentioning she'd run into Marcus at the grocery store with the baby and they looked so sweet together. 6 months after Ivy was born, I heard through a former mutual friend that Marcus and Jade were dating. Not just co-parenting, but actually together, building a relationship, becoming a family. Everything had worked out for them. They'd had their one-night stand, created a baby, destroyed my life, and emerged on the other side as a happy couple. I spiraled, stopped going to work regularly, stopped seeing friends, spent days in bed imagining Marcus with Jade and Ivy, the perfect little family. The family I'd wanted, the baby I'd tried for years to have, just handed to them after one drunken night. My therapist increased our sessions to twice a week, put me on medication for depression and anxiety, helped me understand that what I was experiencing was a form of traumatic loss, compounded by the infertility trauma I'd never fully processed. You're not just grieving your marriage, she told me. You're grieving the future you thought you'd have, the baby you thought you'd raise, the friend you thought you had, the life you thought you were building. All of it was taken from you simultaneously. She was right. I'd lost everything at once, and the people who'd taken it from me got to keep everything and build a life together while I sat in the wreckage trying to figure out how to survive. A year after the divorce, I ran into Marcus and Jade at a farmer's market. They were together, Marcus pushing a stroller with Ivy, now almost a year old, Jade's hand on Marcus's arm. They looked like what they were, a young family on a weekend outing. Happy, content, complete. They saw me at the same moment I saw them. Marcus's expression shifted to guilt and pity. Jade looked uncomfortable but defiant. I stood frozen, unable to move, unable to look away from the baby in the stroller. The baby with Marcus's eyes and Jade's nose. The baby that could have been mine if anything had been different. "Hi," Marcus said carefully. "How are you?" How was I? Destroyed, broken, barely functional most days. But I said, "Fine. You?" "Good. We're good. This is Ivy." As if I didn't know, as if I hadn't spent countless hours torturing myself, imagining what she looked like, what milestones she was hitting, what her first words were. "She's beautiful," I said, because what else do you say? "Thank you," Jade said quietly. "How have you been? We haven't seen you around." Haven't seen me around, because I'd retreated from our entire social circle to avoid exactly this scenario, because watching them build their family was too painful, because everyone had chosen them over me. I've been busy, I lied, work and stuff. Awkward silence? Ivy started fussing, and Jade picked her up, bouncing her gently. Marcus watched them with obvious affection. This was his family now, not me. Them. "We should go," Marcus said. "Ivy needs a nap. It was good to see you." Good to see me, like we were old acquaintances, not people who'd built a life together, not the person he'd promised forever to, not the woman whose life he'd destroyed. I watched them walk away. A perfect little family unit. Marcus's arm around Jade's waist, Ivy's head on Jade's shoulder. Everything I'd wanted, given to the people who'd betrayed me. I went home and called my therapist's emergency line, had a breakdown so severe she recommended a psychiatric consultation. I was put on stronger medication and given a medical leave from work. That was my rock bottom. Seeing them happy together with the baby I couldn't have, realizing they'd moved on completely while I was still drowning in the aftermath of their betrayal, understanding that they got their happy ending and I got nothing. My therapist helped me see that I needed to make radical changes. I couldn't stay in the same city where I might run into them, couldn't keep torturing myself with updates from mutual friends, couldn't build a new life while constantly confronting the old one. I applied for a transfer with my company to a different state, got approved, and moved 3 months later. New city, new apartment, new start. No one who knew Marcus or Jade or anything about what had happened. It's been 2 years now since that dinner party. I'm 33, living alone in a city where no one knows my history. I'm functioning again, working, socializing, living something approximating a normal life. The medication helps, the therapy helps, the distance helps. But I'm not healed. I don't know if I'll ever fully heal. Some betrayals are too deep, some losses too profound. Marcus and Jade took everything from me, my marriage, my best friend, my social circle, and my chance at motherhood with the person I'd chosen. They handed me grief and trauma while they built their happy family. I heard recently through an old coworker who didn't know the full story that Marcus and Jade got married, that Ivy is 3 now and they're trying for a second baby, that they're living in a house in the suburbs, the picture of domestic bliss. Everything worked out for them. They had their family, their daughter, their happy ending, and I have myself, my survival, my slow, painful rebuilding of a life from rubble. I still want to be a mother someday, still hope that maybe with a different partner in a different season of life, it might happen. But that dream is tainted now, complicated by the trauma of infertility and betrayal.
shadowed by the image of Marcus holding Ivy, the baby he made so easily with someone else after years of trying with me. That's my story. The best friend who announced her pregnancy with my husband's baby. The betrayal that cost me everything while they lost nothing. The ongoing grief of watching them build the family I dreamed of having. The life I'm building now in the wreckage they left behind. I survived, but I'll never be the same. And they'll never understand the full cost of what they did because they got their happy ending and can't see past it to the devastation they left in their wake.